Hey guys, I got myself a little podcast microphone. How fun. And guess what she's doing? She's doing a podcast. Okay, right, look, there wasn't much decision making in this. The decision making was I can yap, and a yapper who yaps needs to have a yapper cast, aka a podcast. So here we are with my yapper machine. Yeah, let's get straight into the first podcast, which I think is a relatable enough subject to start off with. And it is like the love hate relationship I feel like many other people have with social media. This has been playing up on my mind recently because I've been very much in my reading era. But I've been in my reading era mainly because I was so busy at uni. Well, I always love reading, but I was so busy at uni for the past few months that I didn't have the time to sit down and read. And all of a sudden, I finished uni and I have all this free time. So almost like free time to myself and the time I have, laying in bed first thing in the morning and like last thing at night, I started reading again. And I've been having a great old time reading. But the issue is that was usually the time I'd spend on social media. So I no longer have that time on social media. And, I've found positives and negatives in it. And I just want to discuss it because I think it's a really hard balance to find, in our day and age, in our use of social media, in the fact that you can get jobs of social media. My whole job is to do with social media. So yeah, I think I looked at my screen time earlier for today and I spent 24 minutes on Instagram and 8 minutes on TikTok for the whole day. So just because I've been reading, I've been doing other things, my screen time has significantly decreased. Right, let's just break this down. Where do I read? Because I think this is important. So I read on three different platforms, is what I was going to say, but I feel like that's wrong. Three different forms of reading. Obviously a book on my Kindle or on my phone, right? Those are my three ways of reading. And the last two books I read them on my phone. And they tell you shouldn't use a phone like half an hour before you go to bed because it affects your sleep. And I just think that's not the problem. I don't think using your phone is a problem. I don't know, maybe it also is. Look, I'm not a scientist here. I barely have a fashion degree. But I think what the main issue is like if you're scrolling through TikTok right before you fall asleep, you're like scrolling through those videos so quickly, and because your attention span is gone, every new video is waking you up again. So it takes so long for you to get so tired that your eyes can't stay open. But when you're reading a book, like I was, like I said, reading on my phone, and my phone's got nothing special on it for like night mode or anything like that. So it's like, you got blue light. I have my glasses are blue light glasses, but I don't wear them in bed. Anyway, I still feel like last week I felt like I slept so much better falling asleep whilst reading, even though I was on my phone, than if I was like on TikTok before falling asleep. I also fell asleep a lot earlier, which I don't know, maybe that's to do with last week or if it's to do with the phone. I have absolutely no clue. And also, it was a book I was interested in. It's not like it was a really boring book that I didn't find interesting and was sending me off to bed. That's point number one to make. I think it's nice to read. Like, even if I'm reading on my phone, it just feels like I'm off of my phone. I feel like more relaxed and more. I don't know if this is starting to become like read a book propaganda or if this is a social media talk. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of both. Anyway, I kind of what I feel like when I've spent like the morning reading and like I haven't spoken to anyone, I haven't answered a text message. I feel like I've just like done yoga or gone swimming. No, swimming. That is a better analogy. I feel like I've gone swimming and my head's been underwater the whole time, and all of a sudden, the second I then start answering those messages and emails and going on social media, I feel like my head's come out of the water and there's kids screaming and shouting all around the pool. That's what I feel like. I think that's a pretty accurate analogy. Anyway, I don't know where I was. Cons. Let me tell you the cons about not being on social media. At least this is the con for me. I then start to feel really anxious going back onto social media because I feel like I've missed out on so much and I've got so much catching up to do that I just don't want to do it. But then the more time I stay away from social media, the bigger that gap becomes. And because we live in such a fast-paced society, it is a bit of an issue. You know, you like missing a day is pretty pivotal, but or maybe not a day, but like a week on social media is pretty pivotal. You know, I don't, like I said earlier, I've been on TikTok for 8 minutes today. I don't know what the current trend is on a TikTok video. I don't know what videos are, you know, the most viewed, and I'm someone who loves a bit of pop culture, so I usually do know these sort of things, you know. Anyway, I need a water break. So I think there's something to be said with that feeling of, it's kind of like the feeling of overwhelmingness. It's like, for example, on my birthday, right? Whenever I get like loads of birthday messages, because I'm just that popular, when I get loads of birthday messages, I'm not going to sit there and answer them as they come along, because, you know, I don't want to spend my whole birthday just sitting there answering people's birthday messages. But then by the end of the day, I look at all the messages and I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even want to open any of these messages, but I have to, because they've all said happy birthday and it's a very nice thing for them to do. So I need to go through and, you know, thank them. And I just get really overwhelmed, and that's what it feels like to go on social media. It's kind of, I have the same issue when I go on a holiday. I barely touch my phone when I'm on holiday, or at least that means it's a good holiday. But I'm barely on my phone, I'm barely on social media, I'm barely texting people, I barely call people, you know, I'm on holiday, let me relax. But then it means like the day before or 2 days before, I get really anxious about going back on there because of everything I've missed. And that's my biggest issue, I think, with social media and my love-hate relationship with it. I feel like I need a break from it every now and again. Like, I'm currently giving myself a break, but I don't think I could ever fully cut myself off from social media. A lot of people can, and I have immense respect for those people, because that really takes, I don't know if it's courage, or like, I don't know what it takes, but it takes something to do that, and I don't have that something. Yeah, I feel like I need a break from it, and I go less on social media than I usually do. But at the same time, whenever I do take that break, it's like I feel like I'm missing out, you know? And like, then I get anxious about it, and it just feels so stupid because I'm getting anxious about social media. Like, come on. Also, you know, in a creative world, you kind of need to be up to date with everything that's happening. In most industries, you do, but I feel like specifically in a creative world, you do, and like to stay relevant, basically. And I was working for this stylist at one point, and I would wake up in the morning. She was an hour away, so I'd wake up in the morning, get ready, go straight onto the tube, and then when I was on the tube, I'd just sit and read my book. And then I'd get into the office, and they'd be like, "Oh, did you see what Tyler was wearing at the Oscars?" I don't know why Tyler would be at the Oscars, but that's like, and I'd be like, "No," because from the moment I woke up, the only time I've looked at my phone was to snooze my alarm, pay for the barriers at the tube, and maybe check the time. I haven't actually opened my lock screen at any point of this morning. I've got something in my eye. And at that point, like, I was in a really good habit of reading every single morning and every single evening. You know, that's 2 hours of reading if it was an hour journey there and an hour journey back. And I stopped doing it because I felt like I was so far behind on the pop culture and everything that needed to be seen and heard and known by me, and I didn't know. So I don't know how to fix that balance, you know, like what is the correct balance. And I think every single person's balance is going to be different depending on their interests, on their social media, on their algorithm, on their jobs, on the amount of time that they have free, you know, the industries that they're in, the industry, blah, 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 the industries that they're interested in. It all makes a huge difference. That's like one big section, I think, of my love-hate relationship when I take a step back. When I'm like in it, like when I'm actually on like Instagram, I'm sat there and I'm spending hours, right, trying to figure out which photo from my holiday works best with my feed and which like what editing do I have to do to it for the colours to match the feed. I spent hours. It is like embarrassing how long I spend to get like an aesthetically pleasing Instagram. And I hate myself for it. I genuinely hate myself for it. And I like the person I show to be on social media is just not me. But like I started doing this when I was like 18 about it needing to be color coordinated, and I just can't get myself out of it. And my housemate has, I think, to me, like the most fun Instagram. She doesn't care about it looking good, but like it shows her personality, and she's got loads of pictures of her and her friends, and you know, her and smiling, and none of them are really posed. And I want that to be my social media. Like I want that to be it, but I just try too hard. And I can't like not try hard. Like I just can't. Yeah, I genuinely don't know how to, and I hate myself for sitting there and spending so much time. And everyone does it because at the end of the day, originally Instagram was meant to be authentic. I miss the days where like people would, you know, post their Starbucks and that would be their post of the day, and you'd post like every single day, and it was literally just to share your day with your friends and your families and stay in contact. Now it just feels like showing off this lifestyle and showing off when you go on holiday. And it's like Drake said, I don't know what Drake did. What did Drake say? Drake said something about the girl who takes loads of pictures just so then she can post them after she's come back from the trip so that she still looks like she's on holiday. I think he said something along those lines. Anyway, it's that whole same concept all over again. Like, it's so fake and I hate it, but it's like an addiction. Like, I love it at the same time. Oh, like, I don't even know what to say. I feel like I'm embarrassing myself sitting here saying like I hate it but I love it. It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy here. I feel like I've given a lot of I feel like I've given a lot of analogies today. You know what else I actually really dislike is, and everyone knows this about social media, is the comparison, you know? Like, and everyone does it. Like, I don't want to hear it from anyone that they don't do it. Like, yeah, everyone does it. The thing that really broke my heart was my at the time 13-year-old cousin. She had Instagram and I was following her, and I saw her following Kylie Jenner. And, you know, she's allowed to follow Kylie Jenner, that's not a problem. But then like the following summer I saw her and she was like, oh, I wish I looked like Kylie Jenner. I wish I looked like Kylie Jenner at 13. And like that broke my heart. And then any other time after that, I saw her like one of Kylie Jenner's posts. And like, bless, Kylie Jenner obviously doesn't do it on purpose. Like, she knows she's got a following. She should definitely keep that in mind. But she also is just a person posting on Instagram just like anyone else, you know? Someone might be looking at my post and be like, God, I want to look just like Sophie. I mean, obviously no one is, but like, people could, you know? Anyway, it can be really heartbreaking, mostly for the younger generation. It's something that we talk about already. Also, on this topic, this might go a bit dark. I just am so against children being on any sort of social media platform and posting. I think I'm against it due to my mother. My mother worked in court, so she was always a bit iffy about us having social media because she obviously saw some like pedophiles and criminals and stuff like that. And also, like, bear in mind, I was born in 2003, so I lived in the times of flip phones, and my mum was one of the few people who had a laptop like at home. And you know, I've seen the age of technology grow and, you know, social media become a thing. So, I don't know where I was going with this. Yes, children posting on social media, I just don't think it should be allowed at all. At all. I don't think it should be a thing. You know, like I watched what's her name? Not Frankie Paul. I watched that documentary about the Mormon woman. Let me Google what her name is. Give me 2 seconds. Right, I watched the Ruby Frankie documentary. I then also watched the other documentary that's called like Kidfluencer or something like that on Netflix, I think. Anyway, both of them shocking for different reasons, but both have kids at the forefront of influencing, and it's just insane. And it, you can say the same thing about child acting, and in a few states in America, influencing is being used in the same, like, is being monetized, and the laws are being the same as child acting. However, I still have an issue with it. I don't think children should be on social media. I don't, like, you're exposing them to the world, right? And yeah, it's just a screen, and yeah, we're just sitting here and it's like all fun and dandy. But there are some disgusting people out there. Disgusting. And yeah, it's just an innocent video of your child eating a grape. But to some disgusting weirdo out there, he's wanking off to that video of your child eating a grape. And that your child's too. That might have been a bit deep. I apologise. It's just a really strong opinion I have. And it really upsets me every time I see any sort of child influencer. If it's even a toddler, I hate to see it. And it's saddening. It's really sad because obviously to people who are watching that content so innocently, like parents, like mothers, or fathers who are like, oh my god, my toddler isn't eating anything. What should my toddler be eating? Let me get some, inspiration and recipe inspiration. And then you're going to watch another, mum feeding her baby, rah, rah, rah. However, that is a part of their content and like part of their audience, sorry. But there's also a big percentage that are just some fucking weirdos. And that's what I've got to say on that. That went a bit off topic. Anyway, after this kind of conversation of I don't know where I stand with social media, because I at the moment I really don't. I am having a bit of a break. I've kind of, I was going to say I've gone back to the analog era, which is such a lie. I'm sat here with a microphone and a laptop and a camera, all which would not be in the analog era. Anyway, I just, I've been taking time off of my phone, which I've been really enjoying, and I think I'm gonna carry it on. I think also I'm gonna have a bit more of purposeful use of social media. Not get swallowed up by it. Let me float in the water. Going back to my water analogy, maybe let me not have my head fully out of the water, but I'm not fully submerged. I'm just floating on the top, and the water's bobbing up and down, so like it's near my ear. So every now and again, I hear a bit of the commotion outside, and most of the time I hear under. I hope you're getting this imagery I'm dishing out, because I can see it in my head whilst I actually have a very vivid image of it in my head. Anyway, not the point. Point is, I hope you're seeing what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, I think that's what it is. Also, like in general, I just haven't been on my phone. I've been listening to CDs a lot more than I usually do. And I listen to a lot of music. Last month I listened to 8,000 minutes of music, which is a bit insane. Like I don't know how I did that. I usually like cap it at 6,000. So I don't know what happened there, but I just think there's nothing better than a book, and I feel like we're back to the book propaganda. I just love reading, which is insane because I'm dyslexic and have ADHD, which is a very common but lethal combo. And also moved here when I was 5 and I couldn't speak or read English. So actually I didn't know how to read properly until I was about in year 8, which for anyone who doesn't know what year 8 is, you're about 14, I want to say 14? Are you 14 in year 8? No, 13 maybe. 12, 13? Yeah. Until about 12, 13, I couldn't read properly. I could figure out what was being said, but it wasn't like actual reading. It was kind of half guessing the words and hoping it made sense. And because of that, I used to hate reading. And then during my gap year, I just picked up a book and started reading. My dad's a massive reader. Oh my god, if you saw the amount of books we have, you'd understand. But because my dad was always a reader, I was like, okay. So I went into a bookshop and I bought a book in my gap year, and I've never stopped since. Never stopped. I love it. It kind of, it's better than a show. I feel like if I've spent all day binge watching a TV show in bed, I feel so much more glum than if I've spent all day reading a book. And again, I don't think it's to do with the screen. I don't think it's to do with the screen. Because, again, reading on my phone, I don't have an issue. I don't feel glum after spending all morning reading or all day reading on my phone. I don't feel glum at all. But sitting and watching a show all day, I'm like, what the fuck have I just done? I'm just, and it's not like I read anything super intellectual. Like, I'm reading a rom-com book. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, apologies for the book propaganda. I'm not trying to shove books down your throat, but you know what it is? On a busy day-to-day life, I can understand it's hard. But I once watched a short video called How Do I Read More? And the guy said that you need to change your habits. Even if it's like a short, like for example, if you live in London or you live in a place that has a metro, all you have to do is the second you get onto that metro, if it's more than 1 or 2 or 3 stops, take out your book. Sit and read. Always have a book on you. That is my advice for life. Always have a book on you. Always, always, always. I usually have 2 books on me, 1 physical book on me, and then I pretty much always have also a phone/Kindle book. Which is obviously just on my phone, but it's on the Kindle app, so I can also have it on my Kindle. And I find that really useful because if I forget my physical book, I can sit and read my book on my phone, and it's a lot easier to read on your phone when you're on the tube because obviously it's just on your phone, you just scroll through, and also your phone's more like easy to get out, all of this. But yeah, like 5 minutes every day, or 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, another 10 minutes there. Sometimes I'll be mostly, especially when it's on your phone, it is so easy to get through a book because it's like, oh, I've got 10, like, I would need to wait for so-and-so to come 5 minutes. You're just sat on the sofa, like, go onto your Kindle app and then start reading. It's just so easy when it's on your phone. I really don't know how we've ended up on a book conversation. This was meant to be about social media. Let's go back to social media. I don't think I could do a full detox on the socials. I genuinely don't think I could do that. I couldn't delete Instagram. I couldn't delete TikTok. I was never a Twitter girl. I never got into Twitter. I think it's a very American thing. I don't know. I was never able to get into Twitter. I think it's just I'd never really truly understood how it worked. This makes me feel really old. I never truly understood how it worked, in all honesty. It wasn't really my vibe. It wasn't, not really. Also, I just thought the whole, interface, is that the right word? I don't know. The whole look of it was very clunky and a bit blah. And that is going to make a decision for me. So, I was never much of a Twitter user, formerly X, formerly known as Twitter. And then I definitely haven't been on X, so I think that is the only social... Oh no, Pinterest. But in my mind, Pinterest isn't a social media platform. Pinterest is Pinterest. I've got LinkedIn. That's just the life of a uni graduate though, innit? And I've got Snapchat. I think I could easily give up Snapchat. The only person I talk to on Snapchat is my best friend from back home and Sam. Other than that, I message every single other person I know in this world. And if I don't have your number, I usually will probably message you on Instagram. Yeah, I feel like Snapchat's dying out. I don't know if it's... Ooh, glasses down. I don't know if it's potentially a London thing or you kind of age out of Snapchat. But I feel like Snapchat is dying. I don't know. I feel like whenever I speak to people about Snapchat, no one really uses it anymore. And again, I don't know if it's because I've now moved to London or if it's because you just age out of Snapchat. But like I remember the like good old days. It's not like back in the day. You could even skip through people's stories. You had to watch the whole thing, but you could only upload 10 seconds of video. And you could only do like one line of text on each snaps that you sent, and you could never replay them. You couldn't. Yeah, I remember when filters came in. Like, I remember King Kylie's Snapchat era. I used to watch those religiously, like her stories religiously. Yeah, it was a crazy time. You know what? I actually look back at the years of 2014 to about 2016, 2018. 2014 to 2018 with pure fondness. Like, that was a different, you know how like people do. It's gonna sound like so stupid to anyone who, anyway, another point, this is gonna sound really stupid what I'm about to say, but you know how like they talk about the 90s being like revolutionary and rah rah rah, and fashion and makeup and models and supermodels and blah 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 blah. I think that about the social media's impact in 2016 specifically, but you know, that whole era of time with Kylie Jenner and her King Kylie era, and everyone all over the socials, and like the huge increase in makeup influencers. And I feel like that's the real pinnacle moment of when we started having influencers, you know? Like, that's really when I remember, like, oh yeah, you know, that's when we got James Charles. That's when there was like the whole debacle on the makeup YouTube. Oh, God, like that time period is iconic, you know, like the Coachella outfits, like Coachella was iconic. I just, the Kylie lip kits, it was like, it's literally like you had to be there to understand it. And I feel like they're going to talk about it in years to come. I feel like in 20 years, we're going to have a documentary about social media and the rise of social media. And I feel like you can't talk about social media without talking about that period of time in great depths, not just like just talking about it, like in great depths. I feel like you have to. And then I think the other time period that they probably talk a lot about is COVID, which was such a weird time period on social media. It's kind of like you were showing that you were doing stuff at home, but like you were just at home and everyone knew you were bored. And then when you were allowed to go out again, do you remember when you were allowed to go out again and then everyone seemed to be taking pictures in some like random flipping fields? That was a time. Which, like, understandably so, like, you know, we weren't allowed to see people, so you'd go on a walk and you'd go on a walk in a field and you'd take a picture in a field and post it. But yeah, that was a really weird time. But that was also, you know, a positive then again with social media, because it's kind of like you're keeping in contact with people that, you know, you can't see because they're maybe need to be, what was it? What was the name that they used when they could easily get sick and they were just vulnerable. I think that's what they were just like, you know, if you knew someone who was vulnerable and you couldn't look after them, no, you couldn't see them. Social media was great. However, at the same time, there was a huge issue of, because, you know, social media and posting stuff, but we were all just at home doing absolutely fuck all. A lot of people then had, what was it called? Like, it's like body dysmorphia, but for your house, like house dysmorphia. I don't know. But that wasn't just specifically because of social media. It was a lot because of social media. Obviously, like you're taking more pictures inside, so people are seeing your house more. But also, you know, things like Teams and Zoom. That was the first time that probably people saw the inside of your house. If I sat here and I was to, you know, sit and have a Teams call with this as my background, they're gonna think, God, she's a really fucking messy person, and I am, which is why it annoys me that I spend so much time on my Instagram perfecting it, because that's not who I am. Because look at the state of me. That mug has been sat on my mantelpiece for probably 4 months, maybe longer. I'm not 100% sure when I put it there. Are you seeing what I mean? Like, obviously, your boss is never. Oh, your boss could have gone to your house. I'm not going to judge if your boss has gone to your house. Obviously, not everyone from your work will have gone. Ooh, not everyone at your work is going to have gone to your house, you know, and all of a sudden your background is your home, and all of a sudden you're cramped in there with maybe not enough space or too many people, or, you know, you don't have a desk, and so many things. I don't know where I was going with this. COVID was a weird time. It's so dystopian thinking about it now. You know, so weird. So weird. For the winter lockdown, where I grew up and where I was at the time of COVID, we went, you know, at Christmas they did like the green, amber and red warning things. Anyway, we went into red really early on, and I remember I was out with my friend, and then we went into red and we had to go home and isolate, and that was it. But it was right before Christmas that happened, so we were actually in lockdown during Christmas. I think it's the week or so beforehand. Anyway, so then come like March, when things are starting to open again, March, April time, and I'm walking through the shopping centre, and this is what felt super dystopian. I was walking through the shopping centre, and all the shops still had Christmas decorations up. It literally felt like a zombie apocalypse type thing. Like everyone just left everything, and then that was it. And it was so creepy. It was so creepy. I don't think I'll ever get that out of my head. Like, that really weirded me out. I keep going off topic here. Going back to social media. I think this was Anton. I might be wrong. I think Anton from Love Island once said that he was renting out a Porsche and showing. Yeah, I think it was Anton. He was, or someone from a Love Islander, a guy Love Islander, I think from like that sort of early stages of Love Island, said that they were renting out a Porsche, and they were posting it all over social media. I think it was a Porsche or just a fancy car, posting it all over social media, and actually were dirt broke. But because, you know, he was a Love Islander, and it was expected for him to have the money, he spent the last of his money every single month renting out this Porsche. And, you know, specifically with Love Islanders, and I'm only talking about Love Islanders because Love Islanders just started, but specifically with Love Islanders, there's this expectation that you're going to come out and have a mad amount of money. But how many people do they have on? Like 20 people? Maybe more. Let me Google how many people they'll have on average on a season of Love Island. Right, sorry, my camera died, which was really unfortunate. But I did find out altogether throughout all the seasons of Love Island, there are 224 contestants. That's a lot. So obviously, you know, you go in there and you hope, well, everyone hopes to actually get famous, not to find love, whatever bullshit they say, but they all want to become famous. And obviously not all of them are going to be Molly-Mae. There's only one Molly-Mae, you know? So that's all, you know? So they're expected to have all this money, which they just don't have, because obviously 224 people aren't all going to get the contracts and, you know, the deals and the partnerships. So some of them just end up going back to their old job. But on social media, they have to keep up this appearance of, oh yeah, it's all great, I'm rich, I'm living this lifestyle I can't afford, blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? You need to watch that documentary, I think it's on ITV. Yeah, I think it's on ITV. About Love Islanders, and a lot of them have just gone back to their jobs beforehand. And one of the girls, I can't remember who, but one of the girls, she's like a bottle girl in a club, and she gets stopped all the time at work being like, hey, were you on Love Island? Like, haha, you on Love Island? And she's like, you know, she went on Love Island expecting to come out rich and famous, and she's just not. There's so many people, whenever they do All Stars, there's so many people that come in, and I'm like, I do not remember you. I don't. I remember like a few people out of each season, you know, the memorable ones. Other than that, I'm just not going to remember you. And that's the whole point. At the end of the day, social media is so fast paced that you get forgotten. And that's really scary if your whole job's social media, or if like most of your income comes from social media, you need to be on top of your game. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough about the topic of social media. I feel like I've also gone very off topic with the topic of social media. So I'm gonna leave it there for my first ever podcast. I hope you enjoyed. I've been talking for 43 minutes. It's a really long time. That's all. We'll see you in the next podcast episode, which I don't know when it is.